Okay, so Joe, yesterday, Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes was sentenced to 18 years. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Chai, as we like to say in the Jewish tradition, 18 years in federal prison for his role in planning the January 6th Capitol attack. Now, his sentencing comes on the heels of the Department of Homeland Security warning about the potential for violence in the lead up to the 2024 election cycle that could target the nation's critical infrastructure, faith-based institutions, government facilities, and minority communities. Do you believe that Rhodes' sentence, the longest given so far, right, will serve as a deterrent to would-be domestic terrorists? Or do you believe that we'll continue to see more Stuart Rhodes come out of the woodwork as long as Trump is a political factor?
Michael, I got to tell you, one, I don't think it was enough. I mean, 18 years. I mean, I'm happy like you are about the length, but I wish it was much more and a much bigger signal, because I don't think it's going to, I think we're going to see more. And frankly, with Trump out there, everybody keeps talking about this, DeSantis, the race, all this other stuff. But the reality is, if at some point Trump is going to lose, and when he does, I think it'll be worse than January 6th. I think it'll all have been, whether DeSantis stole it or Biden stole it, there's more violence coming, I think, because he's going to keep fueling it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a statement, and, I'm somewhat, if not very critical of Merrick Garland in terms of the manner to which he moves cases along. I mean, let's not forget, this took place how many years ago now? We're talking about January of 2018.
Yeah, it's right? Garland's the definition of the wheels of justice roll slowly. That's part of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is wild. To me, I'm blown away. But here's the comment that he says, that the Justice Department will continue to do everything in our power to hold accountable those criminally responsible for the January 6th attack on our democracy. Well, look, certainly this 18-year sentence for seditious conspiracy, hundreds of people so far have now been brought before the Justice Department for their participation in this terroristic act, against our country at the Capitol and so on. But I don't see any of the big players being held responsible. And yeah, it's easy to get the little pictures like, Stuart Rhodes. Oh my God, he was the head of the Oath Keepers. Who gives a shit, the Oath Keepers? It's like they're like a fraction of a biker gang. To be honest with you, we make the Oath Keepers seem like they're the Klan, that there are hundreds of thousands of people in it. No, not true. They're a small group. Okay, they're a faction of another group, whatever. What about the big players? What happened to them?
I think that's coming. You got to hope it's coming. I think that's part of the whole 18-year thing. I mean, look, it's going up, and the closer you get, the bigger the sentences. You got to believe. I mean, yes, the wheels of justice are rolling slowly, particularly for the top. But I do think that's because they're getting that case in shape and making sure they've got it, tied in a knot before they take Trump out, which they will do, in my view. But what do you think, Michael? Where do you think it's going for the top? What's the way it gets there?
Look, I just think Merrick Garland has to just start an indictment. We already have. It's not as if he has to make this shit up, right? It's not like you're going to pull it out of your ass and make it up. There are text messages, there are emails, there are communications, there are people who have provided. 1,000 people have given testimony before the January 6th committee. There is 1 million pages of documents that show who was dealing with what, who from the outside was dealing with who on the inside. We already know that somebody had taken some of these groups through the Capitol, that they had already created a map so that you could get to Nancy Pelosi's office, so that you can get to the chambers, so that you can get to Mike Pence. They knew where everyone's office were. Shouldn't that person be charged too? Or do we have two separate sets of laws? One for the idiots like Elmer. Could you imagine the guy's name is Elmer? Right now I can understand why he would go with Stuart, right? As far as, a name. But this idiot, and you know what? It's not fair for me to call him an idiot. The guy, from my understanding, went to Yale, right? Mm-hmm. This is not a stupid guy at all. Unfortunately, like myself, he fell into the cult of Donald J. Trump. He listened to the antics of Donald J. Trump and these far-right maggot morons. And he's going to end up, he's not coming out. He's my age. He's born the same year I am, 1966. He's got 18 years. I did 13 months on a 36-month sentence. And I can tell you, it was the worst 13 months of my life. The worst 13, and when I was a kid, when I was 15, 16, I got hit by a car. I spent some time in bed. I was on a motorcycle coming home from high school, and I got hit by a car head on. I can tell you, I spent a little time in bed. This was worse. So this guy's got 18 years. Now, of course, federal good time. He's got his 15% and 10% home confinement. Big deal. So he'll do 13 years, 14. It's going to be miserable for him.
No, and that's but also you've got DeSantis and Trump racing hard to pardon him. If they're both out there promising to pardon these guys, which has got to be Rhodes' only hope, right? And this is how this keeps going. You keep fueling the people. I'm going to pardon all these people, these patriots, these traitors. And again, they keep fighting because they got to get them there. It's the same reason Trump's only way out is to win the presidency again. That's it. There's no other way. Otherwise, he ain't going to make it out. I just think I think this is all part of the fuel, Michael, for what's keeping this all going. Keeping the anger, the resentment, the revenge, the entire cult. Now it has to keep its very existence going. It has to have Trump be the nominee and win the presidency again.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, did I say January 6th was 2018? I have no idea. Too early in the morning. I'm talking about 2021, right? I have no idea where I even came up with 2018 for.
I knew where you were.
You know what? I'll tell you where I was thinking. I was thinking about 18 USC 2384, the seditious conspiracy U.S. code. And they charged him appropriately. So my question really that I'm trying to figure out, if Stuart Rhodes, who went ahead and I believe he said that they went there at the direction of, right, for the benefit of Donald J. Trump, the same thing that I had said when I had pled guilty to the campaign finance violation. 18 USC 2384 states, if two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or blah, 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 right? Okay? So let me just break this beginning part down. Two or more persons. Stuart Rhodes and Donald J. Trump.
Yep.
Right? And so in the territory, of the United States, subject to the jurisdiction, the answer is yeah. You're sitting in the White House. He was sitting in the fucking White House. All right. Then you got conspired to overthrow. Well, what the hell do you think it was when you build a gallows in the front lawn
and
to hang Mike Pence? And you go in and you now attack. You're looking for Nancy Pelosi to kill her and to take over the chamber to stop the free and fair election result. Well, what is it? Why is Donald Trump not being charged?
Well, he will be. I mean, I'm assuming, I think we all hope or assume whatever that eventually they're going to get there and charge him. I mean, I just don't see, and I think there's a whole lot of hand wringing around whether they charge, for Mar-a-Lago in the documents or this or both or all of it. But I just think it's, Jack is not messing around. I don't think. I don't know about Garland, but I don't think Jack is. So I think this is. I think you're pointing out exactly why this indictment will come down and will happen.
I think what I'm really pointing at is the frustration that the American people have in our system. And I think it's one of the reasons why Joe Biden's popularity numbers are as low as they are, despite the incredible job that this man is doing. All right.
I think that's right. Because Michael, part of this is, part of the lack of approval is over. You're not going after these people hard enough and fast enough, or you're not being bold enough. In other words, there's people who think who want more, want more, want to prosecute this stuff faster and think it's going too slow. So it's not that they want to pick a different, go in a different direction. They just want to go in the same direction but harder. And I do think that Jack is that hammer in the end.
What I know of Americans is that we are a results-oriented society. We believe in results, and we're not getting the results. And it's why Donald Trump still maintains this 26%, 28% stronghold over members of the Republican Party, his MAGA fanatics, because he claims to be the results-oriented guy that people are looking for. I'm going to build the wall, right? Okay. I can fix the problem between Russia and Ukraine in 24 hours. I'm going to stop immigration. I'm going to stop the flow of migrants into the United States, right? He speaks in bumper stickers, but his bumper stickers are always result-oriented. Here, let's just break down what's going on with Jack Smith, because I agree with you. I have no beef with Jack Smith at all.
Right.
He's actually moving in what I would refer to as an expeditious manner.
I agree.
However, now that we finally have the information, let's just go with the simpler of the two cases, because January 6th, to put that case on trial might seriously be too big. It seriously may be too big. Right. I don't even know how you would put on a case that has 1 million necessary, factually important documents. To beta stamp it would take you 6 months. Right. I don't, even with artificial intelligence, it's too many documents. You have 1,000 people with enough testimony to go 24/7 for a full straight year. How many witnesses are you going to call? I don't know the answer. But here's the thing with Jack Smith. He should already, when it comes to the Mar-a-Lago documents, we have the timeline. We know when Donald was first approached and said, we know you have the documents. Return them. Nope, I don't got them. Yes, you do, Donald. No, I swear, I don't. Yes, you do. Okay, you're right, I do. And he turns over 2 boxes. And now they turn around and they say, we know you have more. No, I gave it all back. Now, yeah, if you gave it all back, well, we want a document. We want some sort of an attestation by yourself, by one of your attorneys, that you checked the place that there are no more. And they knew he had it. So he gets this poor Christina Bobb, right? Thanks to Boris Epstein, this fucking loser and a half, this lapdog that used to run around the office trying to figure out how to get up into Donald's office. All of a sudden, he gets Christina Bobb to go ahead and to sign this attestation. It's a lie. We know he had it, and FBI goes in, they get it. This is not about having the documents. It's about lying, right, to government.
Right.
1,001 violation. And I know about it because it was part of my conviction. All right? So charge him just on that. Break it down into the small part. Now, Jack Smith has to go to Merrick Garland, and Merrick Garland then has to go ahead and make a determination whether or not to indict. Are they going to have to, as well, convene a grand jury? How much more time from the time that Jack Smith tells Merrick Garland, hey, We got a real case here. Here's the memo on how we're going to lay it out, like the way that Alvin Bragg did it. All right. And instead of people attacking him, they should pat the guy on the back. Took him a little long, right, to finally get to where he is. Mark Pomerantz, had he stayed, right, and had Cy Vance stayed, this would have started a year ago. But no problem. Alvin Bragg is ahead of the game. How long is it going to take from the time Jack Smith tells Alvin Bragg we need to indict Donald Trump on the Mar-a-Lago documents case, before which Donald gets indicted?
I don't think it'll be long at all. I think that's what Garland is setting up. Bring me the case. I don't think he's going to take long to evaluate it. I really don't. I think Jack Smith has the cards, and when he lays them down on the table, it's game over for Trump, and I think Garland will move it forward. He has an independent counsel. Well, it's when Jack brings it. That's what I'm with you on that. I think Jack will bring it when he has it. And so I'm with you. I don't understand what the holdup is, but I think it will happen within weeks. I think. I don't think we're waiting much longer. I really don't.
And I can say the same thing. Sure, but I could say the same thing then about the Georgia case with Fani Willis. How much more time do you need? How much more evidence do you think that you're going to get? Well, why do you even need to be looking for it? It looked like it was going to happen yesterday.
Yeah, that one, the same thing. It now looks like August. But again, something is, and then you got on the other side, the clock ticking on the campaign. You get too far deeper in the next year, and then Garland, you do have to worry that he thinks we're not going to inject this in the, with a presidential race going on. Although I don't think they'll do that. I think when they have this, they'll take it.
Okay, well, I don't know why it's taking so long, but let's just keep our fingers, crossed. And
no, but
let's thank Alvin Bragg.
But
let's just thank Alvin Bragg first before you get into that. Before you get into that, Joe, right? Sure. Let's just thank Alvin Bragg for actually having the balls to get up and to do what he knew was right. So I'm sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, no, you're right. But no, I was saying that I think you're voicing the real frustration that millions of people out there have about how slow this is taken. I mean, I think no one articulates that frustration more than you. And I also think it's because you got nailed by all this, and then to see this taking so long, but that frustration's real. I think in countless people out there, and I think the speaking to it's really important, because there's got to be more urgency. People have got to raise their voices to get this, to keep pushing this forward, to put pressure on to move it faster, I think.
Yeah, and that pressure should come from the President of the United States. And that's why, again, I think his poll numbers are as dismal as they are. My case was 48 hours. This one is like, well, all right, now we got to speak to Jack Smith. He's got to come up with a memo. And after the memo, now we have to take it to Merrick Garland. And Merrick's going to sit and think about it. Fuck is he thinking about, right? You have a special counsel assigned to it. The guy tells you, we're ready to go. Just rubber stamp it. I mean, what is he going to sit and ponder about it? The Supreme Court judge wannabe that he was? Fuck that bullshit. It's enough already. It's too long. But also,
it's like, Michael, it's an ongoing threat. It's not like you got to go after this now, because it is going to grow. It is growing. It's a cancer out there, and it just keeps getting hotter, and he keeps feeding it. Trump. I mean, there's no remorse from even Rhodes. There's no remorse from any of these guys. They're going to push forward and keep going for this, and it's got that. The real threat here has been how slow the justice system has taken to get up to the real players in this thing. We need to, that's what the real threat is. Stop that. I mean, there'll be appeals, and all kinds of crap. It's going to take forever to try any of this. As you pointed out, January 6th alone, with the millions of documents and the thousands of potential witnesses. But get these indictments going, move this thing, because this threat is growing every day. There's no remorse. There's nothing other than we have to take. And I think that's, again, what I've said earlier. Trump knows. They all know. Their only hope is Trump's elected. He pardons them. The cases then can't be heard till after he's, which may be never, until he drops. But no, this is a real threat, and they're not. I think again, one of the big things that's is just sort of the sense that this can't happen here. That's still like the normal years of justice, instead of like, no, put a stop to this now, take them out, is what.
Well, you raise a good point. Yeah, you raise a good point. You think that Trump, if hypothetically he's reelected as president, God forbid, 1,000,000 times, you think he'll pardon Rhodes on day one?
Yeah, I think so. I think absolutely he'll pardon all of them.
I do too.
That's why I think that's what keeps the movement. It's what keeps you sort of, part of the cult too. Is that's what you want, that, right? I mean, his MAGA cult, and so I think that's why I think DeSantis had to say yesterday, a few days ago, that he too will pardon, January 6th insurrectionists, that he'd consider it and do it. I mean, that's why he did that, because I think you have to be there. You have to be there. That's the whole hope of the cult, is to have dear leader in office, pardoning the patriots, and writing history their way. And I think that's what has to be stopped. That's why you can't let this get much further along, because then I think that I do have a concern that Garland would start to look at the impact of a presidential election. By the way, at that point, that's what Trump's going to do this. He's doing it now. He'll do it then. That this is all, a witch hunt to stop him from gaining the presidency. That's what it's always been about. And that'll probably give him a ton of support with the MAGA cult. So I think we're in this thing where you got to get these charges out there. You got to. It's like why the January 6th hearings, at least, I think did temporarily get some attention from the American people. You got to get these trials, these indictments going, I think, to really spell out for people this isn't just two parties, with one of them going, just supporting Trump. It's a party gone off the rails. It's become totally, a cult that's following, that's ready to take the country over a cliff to get their guy in their way. And that's what I think is just going to keep happening, unless there are further going up the chain of indictments and charges, and we get them out there in front of all the American people.
What's so sad is that you're right. The January 6th hearings elevated the country because it was going to show accountability. That's like the magic word of the year, accountability. Something that I tried to hold Donald Trump to, whether it's with his lawsuit against me, my lawsuit against him, this program, my political beatdown program. We tried to hold people accountable for what they actually do. But while everybody watched the January 6th hearings, in fact, if the January 6th hearings went up against the Avengers, it would have beat them in the box office. But nothing ended up coming out of it, right? I mean, so far we're still, Jack Smith is really on the ball and he's working in order to determine, X, Y, and Z. It would take an army of lawyers to go through the 1,000,000 documents, relevant documents, the 1,000 people who testified. I mean, what, for 5-6 hours? You have 7,000 hours worth of testimony? Can you imagine having to read through the transcription of 7 hours worth of testimony, 6 hours of testimony from over 1,000 people, and then correlate it to these beta stamped documents and so on, and to set that up for a trial? Yeah, everybody wants to see accountability. But so far, we're sitting with our thumbs up our ass. There's nothing going on. We're all frustrated. And then you got fucking dickhead Donald comes out and he goes, I could fix the Russia-Ukraine problem in 24 hours. I could fix immigration
he could.
tomorrow. I could just do it.
Well,
right? I mean, this is the thing. It's crazy, Joe.
No. I mean, you're right, but we all know what that 24-hour fix would be. It'd be Putin take Ukraine. I mean, come on. It's like everybody knows what he means, I think, even, and that's, but like I said, it's the MAGA crowd eats that up. They want that. So I think that the reality is, I mean, you laid out why it could be taking so long. I mean, you've laid it out here on the show. You're talking about thousands and thousands and, millions of documents, thousands of witnesses. Jack, Jack didn't have this case that, he all of a sudden walks into it and he's got to wade through all that crap. And remember also the January 6th committee, the whole controversy about whether it was going to when it would share everything it had with the Justice Department. They refused for month after month. So, I mean, this could be, you're wading through all that stuff that you're talking about. And that's going to take a long time. That's where I agree with you on Mar-a-Lago, lying, under oath, that kind of stuff. At least some of those charges could be brought in that case easily. In fact, that whole case in Mar-a-Lago could probably be brought. I don't understand the logic unless they're trying to do it all in one fell swoop.
No. Two separate cases. No way. So, look, let me move on and then ask you. By the way, I hope you noticed my Zelensky support shirt that I'm wearing today.
It's good.
Yep. Okay. So, look, I'm curious. I'm curious what you made of Dudley Do-Right DeSantis's Twitter space, his presidential announcement the other day. I mean, what a strange, awkward, weird-ass launch for a campaign. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, Michael, I mean, I don't know, have you ever used Twitter Spaces?
I've been on Twitter Space once. I was a speaker. Well, I was a speaker with Elon Musk, and we were talking about Twitter when he first took it over and some of the problems on Twitter. Did it work? I don't know. There was 1 million people that joined into it, but this is different. Yeah, this is a presidential launch.
Yeah, no, it's like you don't want it's the opposite of every other launch I've ever seen, where you want to talk to the biggest audience you possibly can, the broadest one, people looking at you for the first time, getting a sense of who and what you are, with a lot of people rallying and support being there. I mean, so that's the first glimpse the American people get. It's almost, it's a tradition, but it's a real one that like is how most launches go. Instead, this was like this sterile 3 guys having problems getting it to work for 20 minutes. But when they, even when they finally did, there was nothing. It was just I don't understand how his campaign consultants, went with that. Although maybe he's got a bunch of folks that are gonna, go the way he wants to, or got, the other side of this is, I think, it's playing up to, it might have been trying to stick poke Trump on the, hey, Twitter was your thing, it's mine now, I'm here with Elon. But it was kind of ridiculous. I think it clearly failed. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, it wasn't a successful launch at all. And they're still out there explaining how successful it was, because so many people, Michael, were coming in that it crashed. It broke the internet. Bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Yeah. Well, what do you make of DeSantis as a candidate? I mean, because look, he does have a certain sense of popularity in Florida, but he seems to be this shockingly bad retail politician, nationwide. Do me a favor, discuss this with me, because this is your expertise.
Yeah, no. He's I just think not going to wear well. I don't think he wears well at all. I think the more people see him, the worse he does. He's not very personable. Even when you see him in those, like, his belly laughs are like so fake and so weird that he does. I just think is that, first of all, and Michael, this, that people run for president they don't tend to, a lot of them have no idea what they're getting into. I mean, they have no idea of the, how tough it is, how the body blows you're going to take, how you're going to get attacked. And he clearly does not. And I think the other side of that is, look, you can't be the mini Trump, trying to mimic him. I mean, he even has some of the hand motions down. It's kind of pathetic, actually. But you can't be that and defeat Trump. I just don't. He can't. This guy can't. Says Trump can't be elected, but he won't say that Trump didn't lose the 2020 election. I mean, he's just this really composite of a fail. I mean, actually his Twitter announcement was like pretty much indicative of his candidacy so far. He was too big to fail, and he's failing and shrinking every day. So now I think, though, that the real thing I still don't understand, and Michael, explain this to me, because you understand the psyche of Donald Trump, and I want to hear what you think about this. So what I don't understand is, okay, we both wave a wand and we make DeSantis the nominee of the Republican Party. Because you worked for the guy. Do you think that that'll be the first time in Donald Trump's life that he goes to the convention, big smile on his face, grabs DeSantis's hand, thrust it in the air, the two of them, urging his MAGA supporters to join with him, to support and unify behind DeSantis? Will this be the first time that Donald Trump does a gracious, unity thing?
So I do want to remind
you.
Yeah, the answer to that is only if there's something in it for him. Now, remember, then this goes right back to Alvin Bragg and the beauty of Alvin Bragg. A federal pardon would have no effect upon Alvin Bragg's case. It's a New York State case, not a federal case. Do I think that Donald would be gracious about it? Not a chance. He did, however, do that once. He did it for Mitt Romney many years ago. You may remember Donald was considering a run, but decided not to run because of The Apprentice and because of some real estate deals that he had just acquired, like the Doral and so. And his decision was then to endorse Romney. I have to tell you, and Mitt would be the first one to attest to what I'm saying, it was the most ungracious endorsement, which was done at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. I was there. It was the most ungracious that you could. It's no different than you've seen videos, and if you can Google this, it's funny as hell. Donald shows up to people's weddings, and he gets up onto stage, he takes the mic, and instead of congratulating the new couple, right, the newlyweds, instead of saying something nice about them as a family, they're members of his Mar-a-Lardo club, yada, yada, yada. Instead, he talks about, they stole the election from his folks.
Right, yeah.
It's right back to the same fucking stump speech at someone's wedding, which is, look, I don't know about the editing that's going to go on in that one.
But that's what he'll do. He'll sit there and say that DeSantis stole it. Don't vote for DeSantis. I mean, so how does DeSantis? That's right. So it's a lose-lose. You can't beat him. DeSantis cannot beat him for the nomination. And then if he does, he will never have. I don't care if it's 10% of the MAGA folks, 20%, 50%. If it's 4% of them who sit home because Donald Trump tells them DeSantis stole the thing, DeSantis can't win the presidency either way. So he couldn't win it even. The truth is, he couldn't win it even with Trump's support. Yeah, maybe he wouldn't do as bad, but number-wise, even Donald knows that he can't win. Donald can't beat Joe Biden. The only one who could beat Joe Biden at this point in time is Joe Biden. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I keep trying to say he needs to show that he has
the ability to resolve these issues. He's got to get on his Department of Justice. You know, the country is sitting every day. All you see on the news is this fucking lawsuit against Trump, this case against Trump, this case against Trump, this case against Trump. And all they keep doing is recirculating what's happening today in these 4 or 5 different litigations. All right. It was 5 before E. Jean Carroll. Now it's 4. Well, we're back to 5 because the idiot said it again on that CNN town hall. So we're back to 5. Look, this is the problem. Let's just now finish. It's long overdue. It's time to finish. So let me ask you this then, Joe, because there was some sort of hubbub about how Ron DeSantis' super PAC altered footage to include the sound and sight of fighter jets flying over the Florida governor in its launch video. And video from the event, which by the way was last November, indicates that there was no such flyover. Right. I mean, this is the latest case of digitally altered political advertisements. And with the rise of AI, artificial intelligence, and other tools, internet tools, what effect do you see this having on politics, especially when it gets in the hands of bad actors?
Oh, I mean, look, we've been watching the decline of our, political discourse. This is going to accelerate it in a very negative way. That's going to be almost impossible for people to figure out in a media environment where you can't figure out what's real and what's true anymore. And thanks to a lot of Trump and disinformation, Fox and other places. But it's going to be much, much more difficult. And look, Michael is a practitioner. I mean, is somebody who is still out there doing races here and there. The one thing every consultant learned a long time ago is that the negative attacks work better than positive attack. Than making positive ads. The negative ads work better. They always have. And it's the reason politics has gotten uglier and uglier, because both sides have figured that out, or both the consultants on both sides. With AI, and you sort of saw this in the response to Biden's announcement, the AI response that the RNC, I think, put out. This all AI generated dystopia version of the future. Not true, none of it real. It's all was projected in the future. But what I'm saying is AI can really play on it will know what Michael's biggest fear is, the thing that angers you the most, and start to drive those messages. So now someone, again, consultants on both sides now able to use AI to kind of target you with what your worst fear, what negative thing I can tell you the most that'll make you move. Just if you forget about the disinformation side of it, just if you think of that tool in the hands of both entities, forget which parties. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about what it's going to do to just with how we practice today. It's going to amplify it, but with misinformation, with images that you don't know are true, with where you think you're hearing Joe Biden say something and it's not Joe Biden at all. Those are some of the obvious ones, but I think it's going to make the negativity and therefore the trust in our institutions that people have, the inability to recognize what's real and what's made up by AI is going to really cause, and could by 2024 be so impactful that it helps again fuel another constitutional crisis.
You remember a couple days ago there was at a hearing there was there was an ad that was put out by the politician himself,
the chair,
whereby the chair. Who was it that did that? I forget.
I can't.
You know what? It might have been. I truly don't remember, but I found it sensational that he created using AI. He had his office staff do it, created using AI, an entire advertisement of him in his voice. And he said, this was created online by my staff.
Right. Yeah.
With my authorization. Yeah. But well, you're right. This is going to make it very, very difficult.
This is what I'm saying, Michael. You have enough audio out there, obviously, from Mea Culpa, from the podcast, that that AI, it's one thing if there's only like 3 or 4 instances of your voice online, but with you or with myself, other people, Trump, Biden, etc. Look, AI could generate you saying, please vote for Trump. He'll be the greatest president ever. And, or, hey, let me get into the case and tell you why there isn't a good one, whatever, and people would be like totally confused. I mean, like, how could this be Michael Cohen saying, that's what I'm saying.
I would be confused.
But some people would buy it. That's my, it only takes 3 or 4% in a presidential race to buy it that that Trump said this or that Biden said that. There was back in the day, I'm talking, I think one of the first presidential elections we had, as the myth goes, that basically they used to have to get guys up on horses and run around the 13 original states screaming Jefferson is dead. And there really wasn't a way to check whether Jefferson was dead or not, except to send guys on horses saying he lives, but they didn't even have proof of life of front page of a newspaper. We're kind of getting back to that with AI. I mean, where you will not know, we're so used to getting this information and to count on it, and now we don't anymore, and it's going to be a hell of a lot worse with AI.
Well, do you remember, Joe, last week there was a viral image that was an AI-generated forgery of billowing smoke coming out of the Pentagon. Yeah. And the belief system, or the belief that was out there, according to how it ran through social media platforms and all, is that the Pentagon was attacked. And what did it do? It caused the stock market to lose a couple hundred points.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that to me was crazy. It just goes to show you legitimately how dangerous that this artificial intelligence really is. And if you're not able to discern the truth, how do you ever figure out what is the truth?
Yeah. Do you remember, I think about 6-7 months ago, maybe I have my timing off, but there were like when Twitter, when the blue check marks went away, and all of a sudden, a company, a fake company site for Eli Lilly or somebody was, tweeted about, that it was going to reduce, give insulin for free or something like that. And it like totally wiped out, same thing, hit the stock really hard, dropped it. That was just Twitter, the Twitter confusion over the blue check mark. I think that's what I'm saying. This is on putting all that kind of stuff on steroids. You won't know. And by the way, I mean, corporate, it's not just going to totally take our politics in a more negative and vicious way, which, by the way, is already so
happening
much there that we're seeing, and is leading to violence, as we know with Rhodes and other people, eating this stuff up and taking it. AI is going to amplify that, and I think make it a bigger threat. But then corporate America too. I mean, just in terms of, what the damage that could be done to a corporate brand because of, some AI generated attack is going to be, is also, I mean, there's like you said, in the stock market, there's all kinds of ways this could take things in a, really volatile way, more volatile stock market, more volatility out there in business and in our politics, where we can't handle the volatility we already have because it's leading to such violence, particularly on the right, I think it's going to get much, much worse. This is another one where you're right. I mean, the inaction and frankly, the inability for most of our office holders to even understand, all of us, but for even them to understand what they should or could do, to regulate or to at least create it. I mean, the simple one is to basically make it that, if you're doing this show and you put up something that was AI generated, it should be disclaimed as this segment has got AI. You're watching something that was AI generated, not generated by a human. Even if it was just some labeling like that, might be at least helpful, but God knows.
Yeah. Another interesting factoid I was just thinking about, I'm very curious to get your take on this. So as these various different legal issues that we were talking about begin to rear its head with additional indictments against Trump, do you think that these additional indictments, like we'll say from Fulton County or Mar-a-Lago or even January 6th and so on, do you think any of these indictments will make Trump even stronger than what he is? Do you think that it will increase his base, or you think it'll just solidify his base and solidify the base against him?
I think it definitely solidify his base. I don't think his base is not going away. And the problem with that is his base is big enough, even if it solidifies the base against him, that his base is big enough that it will absolutely make it impossible, I think, for anybody on the Republican side to defeat him for the nomination. In other words, the combination of how strong his base is, how more charges will solidify his base around him, will make it, I think, a fait accompli that he's going to be the nominee. Something I think you and I think, but I do. I believe he's going to be the nominee. But then, and the scary part of that is so far, it actually looks like it's increased. I mean, with the Bragg indictment, his support over everybody, grew. It's still crazy to me that when you look at these polls, him and Biden in the general, and Biden's beating him in most places by 3, 4, 5 points. But even that, it's just like insane.
5 points?
Yeah.
We're talking about, Joe, as a strategist who've been doing this forever, think about it. As a candidate, a guy comes to you and says, hey, Joe, I want to hire you. I'm a twice impeached, indicted, civilly fined sexual abuser, election denying, constitution shredding individual with no moral compass at all, who's offended basically everyone on the planet, from Mexicans to women to the poorly educated. I want to rerun for the presidency. And then to tell that person, you may lose, but you're only going to lose by like 3, 4, 5%.
Yeah.
Where have we fallen?
No, that's the whole thing. This is not, it's that base is real. That's what the base wants. They want the revenge. They love that resentment that he carries, and they love hearing. And by the way, they love him owning the libs. It's like the more he does something that makes everybody else hair on fire, the more that's like manna from heaven for them. And they love that he can do that. And I think that's part of what DeSantis was trying to replicate, with all the 6-week bans and banning books and all the things that he's the fight with Disney. But he can't quite pull it off. He's an imposter compared to Trump. But this is more why, it's been cooking for years and decades. and building. And I think, and look, the racial stuff was always there. It's always been part of our, our struggle as a country. But the putting all those different parts of the coalition together, with evangelicals to white supremacists, to that have formed that coalition that became the MAGA base that Trump leads, is that it's this big is obviously is terrifying in terms of the impact that they I think know that they can't win a popular vote election, obviously, and that's why they're making all these moves, and why we still have to. You can't count on the courts after all the judges and things that Trump appointed. You can't count on the Supreme Court to not rule on the legal briefs that'll be filed from state legislatures saying no, that's the wrong electoral group. This is the right electoral group coming from.
You know what, Joe? Maybe I'll throw my hat into the ring, because nothing would be. Could you imagine a presidential debate, me versus Trump, on a stage? I mean, would that not be something that a pay-per-view audience would actually pay for? I mean, I know I would with my personality, but I want to jump in. I want to jump into something more important than that, right? Because I'll talk to you about it online. I'm telling you, I'm definitely thinking about it. Fuck this already. We're too passive as a party.
He won't show up for that debate, Michael. There's no way he'll show up for that.
Not
debate.
a chance. But I want to ask you this, because the New York Times put out an opinion piece the other day discussing this surge to the left by young voters, and whether it was a real demographic shift or just the so-called Trump blimp, right? Can you explain to my listeners what's happening here and what the long-term repercussions are for the Democrats?
Yeah, well, what's clearly happening is Generation Z in particular, one is out voting way above its weight in terms of what it, the proportion of the electorate it is. And at least so far this year, and in these early elections as they're coming into the voting age, and they are very, very aligning really strongly with the Democratic Party, whether they register as Democrats or not. Whether a lot of them are registering as independents, but they are aligned on most all the issues out there, and are supportive of Democrats, and really have negative views of the Republican Party. Now, Michael, what I find interesting about that, having seen the movie now for many, many decades, being involved in politics, it's not that I sometimes not that I think I'm that smart. It's just that I have seen something similar before, and it reminds me, and that's Reagan in the 1980 election, where the younger generation, then the boomers that were coming into voting age, started aligning, sort of rejecting Carter and Democrats, and started to become card-carrying members of the Reagan Revolution. That's what has been sort of the base of the Republican strength since 1980 and Reagan. When you look at those boomers aging and moving up, and many of them now are fueling what the Trump MAGA Republican Party. I think this is really significant, what's happening with Generation Z and younger cohorts, and that is that if they continue to move away from republicanism, from the MAGA crowd, and really align early on, because what happens is, the first few times you vote, you tend to, even if you say you're independent, you tend to lean that way for the rest of your political voting life anyway. So this could be very significant in that I think 2024 could be a realignment of the electorate, with this generation voting overwhelmingly, the Gen Z generation voting overwhelmingly for Democrats and Biden, They actually are the strongest group. When you look at, I think it was 61% approval of Biden. They have big approval numbers of Biden. They vote overwhelmingly. I think you'll have fewer people in the older cohort. They've tended to move on to a better place. And so you could be starting to see the beginning of a big historical realignment shift that benefits Democrats, like the Reagan Revolution benefited Republicans. That's how you get to Bush and Trump. It starts with the Reagan Revolution and the strength that he had among that early group that was starting to vote for the first time. The only thing I've seen similar to that is now Generation Z and what we're seeing in the polling numbers for where they are and how they look at the two parties. This could be a very significant shift.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this then, because Putin recently released a new enemies list with 500 names on it, declaring that Trump's enemies are his enemies. And on the list are folks who have absolutely nothing to do with Russia, but all of them are political foes of Donald's. For example, Letitia James made the list, as did Brad Raffensperger, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers. I mean, then there's Michael Byrd, right? He's the police officer who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt, right?
Yeah.
Who's trying to break through on January 6th. What do you think's going on here? Do you believe that it's a case of the Russian president signaling to Trump and to, the Tucker Carlson wing of the Republican Party that they should, make common cause together?
Absolutely. I mean, that's been going on from the beginning. And, they're not even hiding it anymore. I mean, there's not even trying to be cute about it. It's just out blatant. Hey, Putin, I'm with you, Trump. I'll pardon some of those January 6 people too. Literally
Right.
It's that, I'll punish your enemies. I'll help your friends. By the way, what business deals can we do? It's clearly it's so obvious. And again, though, that's what's so crazy about this. This was a party of Reagan, tear down Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. Wasn't an isolationist. It was we're going to be the shining beacon on the hill for democracy.
I'm sorry. Is that the wall? Is that the wall Mexico paid for?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a total flip to where, there's no way in hell he would side with Putin going into Ukraine like Tucker Carlson did and Trump did. I mean, but more importantly, then this is the hard part to explain. The same base of support that came into the party with Reagan bringing them in is now controlling the party that roots on Putin. That's what I'm saying. This is not just, this is the base of the party that hears this Putin saying, hey, here's Trump's enemies are my enemies. And they raise both fists up and go like, yeah, baby, I'm with you. And by the way, I hope you beat those Ukrainians. That's literally the driving force in a national party in the United States of America has fallen that far that they'll follow and hold dear a man like Donald Trump and then cheer on Putin's attack on Donald Trump's enemies. That's how screwed up it is. And
Putin, of course, hopes that Donald Trump or DeSantis win, because day one, they cut off all supplies to Ukraine.
Yes.
They cut off all money to Ukraine, and they turn around and say, not our war, knock yourselves out, do what you need to do, but we're not involved. That's Donald Trump's way of basically telling Putin, right, I can end this war in 24 hours, because Putin knows exactly who and what Donald Trump is. Let's not forget, in Helsinki, when the two of them were together, it was only Donald, Putin, and Putin's translator. We didn't even have a translator there, as if, could you imagine that the translator was actually translating potentially what Putin was saying because we didn't know, we didn't have somebody there that spoke Russian? Fuck, Donald doesn't even speak English, right? Mr. Kofifi. So look, Joe, the hour goes by really quick, and I have one last series of questions for you. All right. And it's kind of like I like to play my favorite parlor game here. All right. We're going to go real quick on these answers. Are there any other Democrats capable of beating Donald Trump in the general election? So assume for a moment that Biden chooses not to run, for whatever the reason may be. Who's on the bench that you see as a viable candidate capable of winning, capable of beating Trump?
Look, I think Biden is the best candidate we have. And I just
other than me.
What?
Other than me, of course.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I think you getting in and trying to get the debate would be fantastic until Trump said, "No way, I'm going to do that debate." But no, I don't think. I think Biden. I think Biden's our best shot. That doesn't mean that there aren't other people who could wage a campaign. I mean, I think in the end, if Trump's the nominee, it really is it's going to be a referendum on Trump. It won't be a referendum on Biden, or even whether you think Biden's done a good job, bad job. I don't think that's how this is going to play out. I think the country either rejects Trump at that point, no matter who the Democrats put up, or kiss democracy. Russia takes Ukraine, Moldova next. NATO starts falling apart, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, forget about just the ramifications for our country, which will be horrible. But so I'm more of a Trump's probably going to be the nominee, and I'm not probably. I think he is the nominee, but we'll see. It's something. I guess something can happen. Maybe health, but I think that's what the controlling fact is in the race. I think Biden's done a much better job than people give him credit for, but I don't think even that'll get lost. I think Biden hit it. It's freedom versus less freedom, rights versus fewer rights. I think his announcement, and it's democracy versus, a coup. So you either vote for the coup or you vote for the ideals of the country, and hopefully enough people put differences aside to do that. Even the Democratic Party needs to do that. The different wings in the party stop it. Biden's going to be the nominee. Get behind him and push like crazy, because the consequences. That's why no labels is like insane. What they're trying to do by starting a third party candidacy, and that'll only, in my view, bleed votes away from Biden and help Trump become the next, get reelected.
Well, amen to that. Joe Trippi, thank you so much, my friend. It's been a while.
Yeah, always good to
see you, and hope to speak to you again very, very soon. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for joining me on Mea Culpa.
Hey, Michael, I want to ask you if you'll come on my That Trippi Show.
Absolutely,
podcast,
it would be my honor.
Okay,
you just
cool.
let me know. Joe, you be well, my friend, and I will see you real soon.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Take care.
Thank you, pal.